Thank you, Usha ma'am, for the opportunity to speak at the Neurodiversity India Summit. Hello, everyone. My name is Zehn Kashyap, and it is a huge honor to be here today amongst all of you. I'm a grade 11 student at India's premier day boarding school, Vasant Valley in New Delhi. I'm an internationally published writer, award winning speaker, and an advocate for destigmatizing disability. My audiobook, L'Extraordinaire, and podcast series, Persona Extraordinaire, are my ode to the power of differentness and tribute to the values of kindness and empathy. A celebrated TEDx speaker, I have advocated for and driven numerous programs for causes around disability awareness, mental health, and diversity on international as well as national forums. I have received appreciation for my many achievements by being honored as a judge at the 2023 Diana Awards. Through my action invoking advocacy work, thought leadership, and grassroots level initiatives, I have positively impacted hundreds of lives. A changemaker and activist, I have used my voice to speak up for the growing population of children worldwide with special needs that I believe I represent. I consider it a huge honor to be here today with all of you to speak on a topic that I feel so passionately about: the transformative power of the voice of youth. Once in school, I participated in a poetry writing competition where we were given the topic crooked lines. It struck me then that a topic so simple was actually so profound. As I contextualized it in terms of what it meant to me, I realized that through generations of conditioning, we as a society have arrived at a rampantly prevalent definition of what is normal and what is crooked, and how that definition and indeed perspectives around us shape us for life, whether it's positively or negatively. I'd like to share that poem with you here today, and I do hope you enjoy it. Crooked lines. One day, I thought of crooked lines and what they mean to me. You see them all around in life. Just look around and see. To me, crooked lines are perfect and mean that things are right. The beauty of their existence makes me squeal in true delight. Crooked lines, they are so smart, with a mind of their own. They go this way, they go that way, so brave and so alone. I feel they tell a story of how life should be lived actually. For perfection is overrated. It doesn't really exist in reality. Crooked lines are like brave people who do not hesitate. Every bend has a tale to tell that is unique and so great. They don't pretend to be curvy and neither to be straight. They embrace a little bit of both, and so they end up great. Not at all embarrassed of what others of them might think. To the parts that make them up, they all have strong legs. Crooked lines, they show us that having flaws is really okay, that we can truly be ourselves, no matter what people say. So let's try to be like crooked lines and deeply understand. By owning up our personal story, we can live a life so grand. So take it as a compliment if they say a crooked line you are. Simply live up to your values, and in life, you will go very far. Let me share with you a story about a little girl. It started out with a premature birth when the doctors who attended to her realized that she was born with a rare medical condition that would lead to issues with physical mobility for the entirety of her lifetime. They were very pessimistic about her outlook and ruled that she would not even be able to sit up and would be lucky if she had a vocabulary of a simple 400 words. As is natural for all parents in such a situation, her parents were devastated, completely and utterly, and feared for the daughter and her gloomy future, or lack thereof in this case. They ran from pillar to post, from doctors to astrologers to alternative healers to just about anybody who would contradict this very bleak medical prognosis. The immediate initial perspective of her family was scared, apprehensive, and fearful for what the future would hold for her. their very first child. After all, they had grown up in a society that placed a premium on and wholeheartedly endorsed a generationally handed down definition of normal. And her differentness, this divergence from that normal, scared them. Then one day, something happened that changed the trajectory of this story completely. The little girl treating pediatric neurologist told her parents about a student of hers at Ames Hospital who had cerebral palsy. She dwelt on how her obvious and very visible limitations did not stop her from maximizing her potential and living the best version of herself. After all, throughout history, many renowned geniuses have lived remarkable and extraordinary lives. From Helen Keller, Frida Kahlo, and Albert Einstein, to Stephen Hawking, Andrea Bocelli, Beethoven, and Van Gogh. All these masters of their craft are remembered for their contributions and not their disabilities. Voila! That story gave her parents hope, and they worked tirelessly with hope and faith to manifest the positive outcomes they so deeply desired. The little girl whose story I just told you about is me. I've come a long way from being the frail infant in the neonatal intensive care unit of a hospital to being a young person with a cause and a voice. I began to believe in the power of my differentness and have a deep appreciation for my uniqueness and how it makes me truly special. And I would be lying if I were to say if I did not have my share of bad days. In, in spite of this, or perhaps because of this, I developed my own superpower, that is, empathy, from having walked for miles in my fellow travelers, albeit rather painful shoes. During my visits and sessions with the doctors, I met many other children and families, all of whom were fighting to improve the quality of life of their loved ones. And I realized that everyone I knew had their own cross to bear, and my cross, though more visible to others, wasn't necessarily the heaviest one of all. A somewhat shy, reserved, and perceptive child, I learned to hear beyond just merely listening to what people said, and sometimes even heard what was left unsaid. Somewhere along the way, I realized that I enjoyed more privilege than many others I knew. It was just a matter of time that because of the personal experiences I went through, I was able to evolve into a staunch advocate for differentness and disability. I have consciously sought opportunities to amplify messages around destigmatizing disability and differentness, and I work keenly at driving numerous programs around mental health, diversity, and differentness. I am humbled by the fact that as I advocate so passionately for destigmatizing disability, I have been given the chance to speak at national and international forums. My work has been published internationally and I have been the recipient of many awards. I have witnessed firsthand the power of believing in myself, of grit and determination, and of nurturing my own hunger to believe that with all my heart and soul that anything and everything was possible. However, I do acknowledge with great humility that I have been supported by a thriving community. My family's constant encouragement and support, my school authorities, my friends, even the people in my colony, to name a few, have supported me for over a decade now. Many opportunities that I got were because people who were complete strangers to me showed me kindness and trusted me enough to bestow me with such opportunities. We wake up every single day to news of hatred and violence the world over. There seems to be diminished tolerance for people who are different from us in any way, shape, or form. Whether they look different, dress differently, pray differently, walk differently, or even eat differently. This discomfort with acknowledging or getting past differences is a result of a complex interplay of reasons. Our own biases and unfamiliarity, and cultural and social factors. But most importantly, it is because we are inherently uncomfortable with any deviation from what that generationally handed down definition of normal actually is. And this stress, this deeply rooted fear that things will change from the status quo, can make things overwhelming and uncomfortable and make the digestion of various perspectives quite unpalatable. We seem to have forgotten that it is these differences, this diversity in human spirit, that gives us the strength and helps us grow individually as well as collectively as a society. And living in a land as diverse and multicultural as India, I would shudder to think how immensely boring and perhaps even stifling a monolithic society would be, where everyone is absolutely identical in color or shape. The world is today faced with complex challenges that demand innovative solutions. And this will never be possible if we as a society do not recognize the need to accept or rather embrace our differences and other factors. This begets the $1 million question then. How will we ever be able to effect this change? The truth is that this paradigm change will not happen overnight, and neither will it happen in a big bang or in isolation by a single individual. It will only happen in bite sized pieces, one person at a time. It will happen when every single one of us is willing to open our minds and, more importantly, willing to open our hearts to opinions, perspectives, and voices that do not sound like the ones we breed and then lovingly nurture in our heads through generations. In the words of Grasa Machel, an international advocate for women's and children's rights, preventing the conflicts of tomorrow means changing the mindset of youth today. When we effectively activate the propulsive energy youth have inside them, it will unleash a transformative change in the outside world that they inhabit. Once done, their collectively lived experiences will automatically ensure that the simplest solutions to issues that exist today come from them organically and easily. This will, of course, require an ideological shift in mindsets and also require creating an environment when young voices are valued and respected. It will be imperative to grant them access to resources, dismantle barriers that hinder their participation, encourage diversity in perspectives, experiences, and backgrounds. Only then can we expect to weave a rich tapestry of ideas that can lead to more innovative solutions. Not only must we seek out the ideas of youth, but we have to do much, much more by way of appreciating, rewarding, and recognizing the meaningful work being done and the impact made by our youth. Doing so will validate their own sense of purpose and align youth even closer to shared values. Sharing beautiful stories of their persistence, fortitude, and successes, however small they might be, is a way of thanking them for their contributions. When youth see positive consequences for their behavior, they will be engaged further. Not only will it encourage them to repeat their actions, but also encourage others to follow suit and tread the path, one which might not necessarily be the easiest at times. But most importantly, rewarding youth is in many ways equivalent of literally walking the talk, showing them that they are cherished and aligned with the bigger picture and with the deeper rooted values that actually matter in life. Pearl S. Buck so eloquently said years ago, and it remains so relevant and prevalent today and forever. The young do not know enough to be prudent, and therefore they attempt the impossible, and they achieve it generation after generation. I am of the considered opinion that in order to make the world a kinder, more humane place, we need fewer armchair social media activists that are available aplenty these days, more young people with their unique identities and differences who are willing to actually be the change they wish to see in the world. So let us afford ourselves the opportunity to view others' journey and experience them through the refracted perspectives of our own diverse experiences and acknowledge with grace the merit of diverse perspectives, having been gained through several trials and tribulations, many failures, and some successes. I do believe that we owe it to ourselves to be the change we want to see. To that end, harnessing the transformative power of the voice of youth will ignite the spark of faith. This will help us create ripples across still waters of status quo the world over. I would like to end with the words of Margaret Mead, a celebrated American cultural anthropologist. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing it ever has. Thank you.